So, yeah, my side note about my daughters. Yeah.
Doll.
But continue on. So I was calling the girls Yayas from when Sunny, my third daughter, was born. So she was maybe now 5. So it'd been 5 years. This is my little nickname with them. So when my daughters were coming home with, school issues, and for me what it was sounding like was, no, these girls did not know or understand the importance of communicating their needs, the ideology behind supporting one another, how much stronger you can be versus knocking each other down. And at this stage now, I'd said to Sophia, that's it, I'm going to create a women's circle, because in my experience, women's circles were now becoming this place where, if all else, I would always leave feeling not alone, that other people were experiencing what I was experiencing, and it was a safe space for me to unload. So I at the very least wanted that for them. So I said, I'm going to create a circle for you girls, and I said, kind of as not a joke, but I was like, we'll call it the Yaya Sisterhood. Now these girls will join your little sisterhood. And we made invitations, just online on the computer, and I told her to give them to 10. I wanted to cap it at 10 girls, and I said, my other daughter was 8 at the time. And I thought, okay, we'll start it from her age and go, to 12, because my daughter had a friend who was 12. And so it was this selfish reason to kind of keep it within that age group. And she invited the 10 friends, and what I had done, I bought cushions. I wanted to make this beautiful for them, not just come and hang out and have your mum lecture us about friendships. I wanted them to have that experience that I first had when I walked into that shamanic dimensions of pregnancy, that wow feeling. Oh, it makes me, So I got cushions, I made an altar space, I gave everyone little welcome cards, and we were creating that day lip balms, beeswax lip balms. So I bought all the ingredients for that. There were flowers, everything was dimly lit. It was a very intimate, luscious, girly space. So the girls were walking in and were like, oh wow, and to have their little cushion with their little name and everything, I could see that they were like, oh wow, this is for us. And, I opened the circle, and once I did, what I do in every circle, a grounding practice, and that practice is I encourage the girls to let go of, you might have started your day off crap. Your mum might have made you do chores, or your little brother might have been, hassling you, or you might have had a terrible week at school, or, there's a lot of pressure for you to do well at sports, or whatever it is. Maybe at school you're the school captain, maybe you're the school dog, maybe you're the school bully. But when you walk in that door and sit in this circle, none of that exists now. And that, when I did that practice, I could see everyone's bodies kind of like arrive into the circle, and they were on, and they just took to it so beautifully, the structure of a sacred circle, through the housekeeping, the discussions, the talking bowl, and you could see the vulnerability drop and open as they were sharing. I was probably a bit ambitious that first circle. I had about 20 segments of now we're going to discuss social media, now we're going to discuss boys, now I do one thing per workshop. But that workshop I had this run sheet, and what struck me was the segment that just blew me away was the friendships and frenemies section. And we really delved deep into what it meant to be a good friend, but also what you deserve in your friends. And I could just see them, as others were sharing. And I made sure to note that you don't have to share in this circle. Even if that talking bowl lands in your lap, you are never forced to share any more than you feel, which is what I guess we'll get into later, which is why I feel Yaya Sisterhood is an important place, because other areas or other institutions like school or dance class or martial arts doesn't allow that sense of, you know, you don't have to if you don't want to. It very much is, you know, you've been asked, you now answer. It's your turn to perform the somersault, you do it. Whereas in this space, it's, you know, you can receive all you want in the talking bowl and you don't have to give if you are not feeling like you can or you want to or you're up to it. And I really loved being able to create that, because the girls that didn't feel comfortable in necessarily sharing were taking so much from the listening. And it was afterwards when I asked them for their feedback, the ones that didn't share had incredible feedback, and they were saying things like, I know I'm not alone, you know. And that was like, well, even though they didn't share, they still got that gift of knowing they weren't alone. So yeah, we got stuck on the friendship component and it went forever, and that's when, that was the moment I thought, I have to do this work. I have to do this work because it's needed. Nobody had to, I explained to them what a frenemy was, and they were all like, oh my gosh, yes, such and such has done that to me, or oh, I have done that to someone. You know, terms like passive aggressive, you know, I shared what that meant and gave examples, and they were like, oh yeah, I do that to people, you know, or someone's done that to me, like, and I could see that self-reflection and self-inquiry was beginning, and you don't see that in a lot of adult people, let alone children, really reflecting back and processing like, oh, I did that, and I'm gonna take accountability and acknowledgement for that. And this was happening in front of my eyes, and I did not ever set out to do that. And then we made lip balms together, and everyone had their ingredients sectioned out in front of them, and I made a special note to say, you know, have a look at these ingredients, they're all cut differently and look differently. I'm going to put them in this pot, I'm going to melt them, I'm going to pour them into our little lip balm canisters. That's the sisterhood, you know, the weaving of the sisterhood. You've all put it together. Your secret source of who you are and your individuality is now put in here, and together it's created this solidified balm, you know. And I really use that symbolism behind, you know, everyone's different, but deep down there is a thread of sisterhood, you know, like as girls, as women, whether we push it away or fight it or whatever, when you realize it's coming together, you know. And you know, I'm sure some of the girls are like, what the heck, it's just a lip balm, but I know that some were like, yeah, this is my sisterhood balm, you know, and we put intentions into this balm.
So and again, it's like planting that seed, like that seed that was planted for you when you went to that first circle.
And I feel that's my takeaway is always, and I say it to the girls, you know, I'm comfortable with them in circle, you know, there's banter and jest, and I say to them, you know, sometimes you might think, this is weird, Kim, it doesn't mean that, or you might think, why did my mum bring me here, you know, but there will come a day, whether it's when you're 25 and you've had your first baby and a girlfriend comes to your door, holds that baby for you, and this is going to make me emotional, and tells you to have a shower. That's sisterhood, you know. There's no competition about what outfit is your baby wearing, is it better than my baby's outfit, you know, like that is the culture that I really grew up in when I had my children, you know, who is the best pram, who is this, who is the best house, who is this. And when I really started to start stepping into, you know, sacred women's circle, embodied women, it was like, no, if you just knew how important it was to hold space for one another. And so I say to this girl, you know, that day will come when, you know, someone will have their heart broken and you'll be there as a sister, you know, and you'll know what to do, and you'll feel it, you know. Food will arrive on your doorstep when you've had your second baby and you just cannot catch a break. That's sisterhood, you know, and being there for each other in that way, supporting one another, complimenting one another, celebrating one another, holding space. There are so many phases of being a woman. First love, marriage, divorce, babies, menopause, you know, grief, death, that you're going to want other women there by your side who have gone before you or have gone after you. And all of this I have personally experienced, you know, as a divorced woman. I had women who had, you know, gone before me down that journey, that path of separation and divorce, and I was able, you know, to learn from them and with them. And then I've had friends who have witnessed my journey and been able to step through that next journey because they knew they weren't alone. And I feel like those are the seeds in these little workshops and these little, you know, circles that are being planted, that it's not a mean girls society out there if you don't want it to be. You can create something better, but at the end of the day it comes back to your self-empowerment. And that's really the crux of these workshops, is like, I'm not standing there saying to them, this is what you do to be confident, this is what you do to love your body. I'm just gifting tools, and sometimes that is in the way of creating affirmation cards, sometimes that is making lip balm with symbolism, sometimes it's through movement and dance, and sometimes it's through cooking workshops and crafting workshops.